What's up, my friends? This week we're talking about how I bought my bakery. Stay tuned. It's a good one. So, you want to know how I got into the bread business? Yeah, me too. How the heck did that happen? It's a crazy story. So let me take you back. Let me take you way back. Way back to 1987. Yes, my friends, it all started in 1987. Once I graduated from Brick Township High School and I was on my way to Seton Hall University to become the next Gordon Gekko in finance. Yes, my friends.
The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good.
I went to school at Seton Hall for finance. But in the transition time between that summer, my dad and mom had an Italian restaurant called Carla and Ezio's Northern Italian Cuisine. And in that restaurant, my dad had gotten some pretty great bread from a friend of his, and he was bringing it down from Newark every day. And this person, who became very friendly with my mom and dad, became a huge family friend, one of my best friends. He had asked my dad if he knew anybody that wanted to drive a bread truck. And he's like, you know what, Greg, his name was Greg Desantis. This is my dad's accent. Greg, I think Giovanni would like it to do the bread thing. Giovanni, what? What do I gotta do? You gotta drive a bread truck. What time? Midnight. How much are you paying? $80 a day. Okay, I'll do it. That's basically how the conversation went. So, the next thing I know, I'm in a bread van, in a lawn chair. Yes, a lawn chair, because my buddy, Greg, thought it was prudent not to have a passenger seat because he could shove more bread in the van. So I'm in a lawn chair, bouncing around from Bricktown to Newark, which I could barely keep my eyes open because it was in the middle of the night. It took about an hour to get to Newark, and we went to some of the local bakeries up there. And, as soon as they open those doors and you smell that freshly made bread, you could literally hear the bread crackling. Like, we'd load it, and on the drive down, I could hear the crackling, almost like I hear it right now, of the bread. Because when the bread comes out of the oven, in its cooling process, it makes little crackling noises. It was so fresh and so delicious. I was hooked. So, this started my bread career, driving a bread truck for a buddy of mine, for, a side hustle. And as the days and months and years went on, I kept doing it. I did it for summers, and then, my dad's business, restaurant business, wasn't doing so well. Towards the tail end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, things weren't great. And my dad couldn't pay for my college. And I wasn't quitting. There's no way I was going to finish my college career. So I had to pay for my college. So I drove the bread truck, and I did other things. I bounced. I did a whole bunch of different things. But mainly, I got through it by driving a bread truck. And my friend paid me pretty well. So 4 years later, I graduated with a finance degree from the prestigious Seton Hall. And things weren't good in the finance world. They were poopy. Poopy. Not only were they poopy, I was paying my college, but I couldn't get all my bills paid on time. So the college refused to release my transcripts, so I couldn't go to the large companies. I had a great interview with Ingersoll Rand. I interviewed with JP Morgan. I interviewed with some great companies. And the deciding factor was, all right, well, get us your transcripts, John. And I couldn't get them, so, they had to pass on me because they couldn't see what kind of grades I had and, what other things I did because the school wouldn't release them. So I went to interview with the companies that really didn't care about transcripts. Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie Boiler Room? Even though it was a movie, that was exactly how these companies were run. It was a grinder. Basically, you called everyone and their mother, your aunt, your uncle, your best friend's mom, and you sold them crap stocks. That's how it was. And I wanted nothing to do with that. I couldn't do it. I could not physically call someone and sell them shit. I just couldn't do it. So where was I left? Hello, Dad. Yeah, how you doing? Yeah, you want to start a business together? Yeah, sure. Come home. Let's talk about it. And that's what I did. I went home, talked to my dad about starting a business, and that's what we did. So my dad was pretty burnt out after almost at that point 15 years in the restaurant business. So when I, asked him if he wanted to start something new, he was super excited about it. So I'm like, well, what are we going to do? And, that wasn't hard because I was already delivering bread to, some of the best restaurants on the shore. So I just went to them. I said, Dad, let's get some products that, you can get from Italy, from your friends and people that you know. Let's make some product here at the restaurant. Let's sell it to them. And that's what we did. And, it went pretty well. And that was my I don't want to say that was my very first business because I did a lot of crazy things, but that was my real first business. And, it was a grind. It was a low profit, hard business. I had to deliver to, I'd get done with the bread business. And then the bread, because I was still driving for my buddy to make money because we weren't really making a lot of money. It is beginning of a business. That's normally what happens. So I finished that shift and then go and deliver all my, we sold olive oil, tomato sauce. We sold pasta. We sold my dad's breadcrumbs. We sold a whole bunch of stuff. So it was a grind. About a year later, I went into work, which was at my mom and dad's restaurant. I went into the office downstairs. And I found my dad on the ground. He had passed out. He had an aneurysm. And he was on the floor. We rushed him to the hospital. And that night he passed away. And my dad passed away at 49 right before his 50th birthday. That was, as you can imagine, pretty devastating. So, as some of you might know, I don't speak Italian. Yes, I've told you multiple times that we went to Italy, multiple times, France, Switzerland, Germany. I was a worldly kid, but I could barely speak one language, and that's aggravating, but it's my truth. So I couldn't speak Italian to the people that we were buying the product from, and I didn't have the same contacts my dad had, so I had to basically sell, kind of give it away, the business. And my dad was the main person in my mom and dad's restaurant. He was the chef. He was the everything. So we had to close the restaurant. And now I'm looking at, tens of thousands of dollars in debt for me and my dad's business, hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt in my dad's restaurant. And I'm like, what are we going to do? I'm 20 something years old. So my buddy had said, well, work as many days as you want on the bread route. So I worked basically 7 days a week. And that is how I kept the lights on my, at my mom's house, which is where we were living. And that's how I was able to afford to pay people back. And, I had to come up with a plan. So several months later, my buddy had said, hey, John, I'm thinking of slowing down. Why don't you buy this portion of the route from me? I didn't have a lot of great opportunities going on at the time. So I figured, I knew the business. I knew it was profitable. I knew he was kind of, he didn't really treat it like a business. And I knew if I treated it like a business, I could do really well with it. But I remember like yesterday, he was a good guy, Greg. He's since passed. But he told me, he's like, don't get a whole bunch of trucks and drivers. That'll be a nightmare. He was right, but I was determined. I wanted a whole bunch of trucks and drivers. So I bought that business from him 1993. My dad passed away in 1992. I bought it about 6 months later in 1993. I paid $55,000 for it. My aunt and uncle, my Aunt Millie and my Uncle Frank, was kind enough to give me a loan, which I paid back every ounce plus interest. And I took $20,000 from my savings plus some money from my mom, and I bought the route, 55 grand. And I grew that into a $1 million bread route in a couple of years. So now I have these trucks, these drivers, and what am I going to do now? What am I doing now, John? Well, Sally, I'll tell you what I did. Why don't I build my own bakery? Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. So that's what I did. My mom and dad's restaurant, which had been leased out, we leased it out to another restaurant. Their lease was up and they didn't want to renew. So I went into that building that we owned and I renovated it. I added a couple thousand square feet. I put a brick-lined oven in it and we started making bread. John, did you know how to make bread? No. No, Sally. I didn't know how to make bread. I spent many nights traveling up to Passaic. It was in the Newark area. It was a friend of mine that I got friendly with from one of the bakeries. He showed me basically how to make bread. He had a bagel store. He got out of the bread business and went into the bagel business, but he was still making bread for his bagel store every day. And I went up there every day after the route. I would do the route and then go back up north and spend several hours with him learning how to knead and make and mix and proof and do everything to the bread. And this was all during the construction of the new bakery / restaurant / coffee house. Yes, that's how the Harvest House was born, with all those things. So just an FYI, that's why the restaurant portion didn't survive, because nobody knew what the hell they were coming to. Is it an upscale restaurant? There's tablecloths upstairs. Is it a bistro? There's no tablecloths downstairs. Is it a coffee house? Is it a bakery? What do you got going on here, John? Yeah, that wasn't smart. So that failed, but the bakery did really, really well. And that's how the Harvest House Bakery was started. By gumption, figuring it out, buying a bread route, blowing it up, and then slowly over the years convincing people that the bread that we were making was as good, if not better, than the bread I was buying. And so I ground every day, sold every day, was out talking to customers every day, giving free samples every day, and made it into a multi-million-dollar bakery over the years. And up until I sold the bakery in 2019. So listen, it was a labor of love. It was a grind. It was a 7-day, 24 hours a day operation that ground me to a nub. But looking back, it did really, really well for me and my family. It made me financially independent, and I am super glad I did it. I am super glad I sold it. And I am super glad that, I'm going on to a new chapter of my life. But the topic of the video is how I bought my bakery. And that's how I did it. I started as a route. I figured it out. I built the routes up. Then when I had an opportunity, I made a restaurant / bakery, figured out how to bake bread on my own, tweaked the recipe for years, tried different things with the bread multiple different times, and figured it out. And let's see, what is that? 87, 97, 2007, 2017. That's 30 years, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So 35 years later. Damn, that's a long time. So that's how I did it. And wait for the next one, because the next video is I'm going to tell you how I bought our ice cream store, which was a whole nother terrific story. That's a fun one. That one was with my wife, and wait for that one for next week. All right? So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you, got value out of this. And like I had said in the previous video, I'm going to focus on selling businesses, the stories behind them. I'm going to interview other people that have sold their business. I'm going to talk about after you sell your business and the financing of it, and you know what you should do with your money, and are you thinking about doing a new business? That's going to be where I'm going to take the channel, and I think that people, I hope that you guys will enjoy it. Okay, and I would greatly appreciate if you would comment below and tell me that I'm going in the right direction, but that's where I seem to want to be going. It's something I know, it's something I did, it's something I enjoy talking about. So, come back for the next one. We'll see you next week.
I bought a bakery. Well, I really didn't. I built a bakery. But that's besides the point. Stay tuned for the next one.